So I had this project where a robot needed to pick something up and put it away somewhere else. So I didn't know how to do this in Houdini, so I made a very basic scene to figure this out. I even took it a step further and used two robots. So basically the object goes from one robot to the other. So you have dynamic parenting between two robots. So first, the source object. So this is the lower arm, this is the upper arm, and this is the wrist. If you assemble this, it will look like this. So this is the basic robot arm. So this is the lower arm, upper arm, and wrist. And then you have the source for the skeleton. So this is the line that will form the skeleton later on. The points will be the joints. Point 0 will be joint 0. That will be the controlling the lower arm. Point 1 will control the upper arm, and 2 will control the wrist. And then this is the item that will be used to transfer from one robot to the other. These are the two target nulls, and the nulls are animated. And then you have here, this is where the parenting starts at frame 31 and it stops at 70 for the robot 1. For robot 2, it picks it up at frame 94 and it will drop it off at 123. And then you have the wrist angle that controls the wrist of the robot. Inside the robot, here you import the arm, and here you import the rig. I use a rig doctor, then a capture pack geo node, and this basically connects the arm with the rig. So here you have a pose node, and this will control this rig here. The rig is now like this because it follows the target null that we saw in the beginning. Then here you have an IK chain, the lower arm, that's 0.0. You have the mid arm, that's the upper arm, that's 0.1. And the wrist is 0.2. So it's an IK controlled by this null. Behind that you have the wrist, and that is controlled with the slider. And basically you do a bone deformation. So whatever the null does, the object follows. So here the object goes out, and here the rig goes out. The rig is important for the parenting later. And this is exactly the same setup for robot 2. Then to control the item. So first thing you do is you bring in the rig. The rig is now animated because it follows the null. Then you give it an offset because the arm is in this position. And then you get the end effector. The end effector is basically the point that you want to parent the object to. That's in this case the hand here. And then this is the start object. This is the 0 position where you start parenting. This is important to put the element in the correct position, the starting position. This controls the parenting. So it starts at frame 31 and it ends at 70. Now this is a correction. If you disable this, you'll see that now the object is parented to the orientation of the joint. And you need to compensate with this. So you have the object in the right position to start. This is the start position. And then you do a bone deformation. And then you see it will follow this point. And then you do the same for the other robot. You take in the rig of the second robot. You give it an offset because the robot is offset. You get the end effector. So your object will be parented to this with an offset. This is the dynamic parenting from frame 94 to 123. And this is the start frame where he picks it up. So that's in frame 94. That's the 0 position for the second robot. So that's the 0 position for the second parent. So the start position is where the other robot let the item go. So that's in this position. So we take the parent A object here. We take it here. And then we freeze it in this position. We copy it to the point. We do the same compensation here. And then basically you do the same. You follow this point with an offset. So this is the point animated and you do the bone deformation. So basically you need to switch between this object and this object. So the switch is automatically controlled. If the frame goes higher than the parent one out, that would be higher than 70, then the switch will switch to the other object. So above 70, it will switch automatically. So you can control everything from the null. You put the start and the stop. You put the start and stop for the second. You animate the targets. You control the wrist. And then everything will be automatically. So this is how I did dynamic parenting with KineFX. You can download the file below. That's it. Bye bye.